Hello, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Disgruntled. As always, I want to thank you for being here. Thanks for checking out our content. If you're a person who checks out all of our content or some of it and have been here before, I want to say thank you for coming back. I really appreciate it. With that being said, if you do like what we're doing, please consider a like and a subscribe, and please share it with the people around you. We have big plans for this platform, and we can't do it without you. And so those likes and subscribes really help go a long way for us. And that's all we need. That's all we need from you. That and to keep coming back and participating in the things we got going on. So thank you for doing that. Now, I know everybody's beat it to death. Everybody's talked about it. Everybody has their opinion, and there is a lot of internet sleuths trying to broadcast to the world what happened to Donald Trump at his rally, being shot in the ear. And I realize that maybe I'm late to the game. It's old news, and I've lost the news cycle, and that's okay. I've never claimed to be a person, or this platform has not claimed to be frontline news, headline news, whatever you want to call it. We all know what happened. We've watched the videos. We've seen the news about the shooter, the failures of, in my opinion, the failures of the Secret Service and just the law enforcement community on this one. And as much as I hate to throw shade on any law enforcement agency, we have to identify when things go wrong. This time it just happened to be a doozy, and there's been quite a few doozies. But there's also been a whole lot of sugarcoating and extra things thrown into a lot of these stories. And we don't know the whole story. Just like this thing, we don't know the whole story. But my perspective is this. Not about the would-be assassin, not about political violence, because we have talked about that on this show a little bit, but for sure on the Richard Leonard show over on Rumble. My thoughts are about what comes next. We haven't been in this type of situation for a long time. And some would say that the current state of our government, the current state of our union, the current state of our communities is all in upheaval. It's all polarized. But this is something that we haven't seen for a long, long time. Nobody in my generation has seen it. I wasn't old enough to remember the attempted assassination on Ronald Reagan. I suppose that might be the last time that it happened publicly. From what I understand, the Secret Service traditionally investigates threats on the president's life, whoever the president is, to the tune of hundreds a year, if not more. But this time, we got pretty damn close. And so I don't know that I want to go on about, all these conspiracy theories. I read one that Donald Trump was shot in the chest. There was a little hole in his suit coat in the chest, and he had a bulletproof vest on, and this and that and the other thing. But if you look at the real pictures, there's no hole in his jacket. So there's just a lot of these things going around. But what do we know? We do know that there was a shooter, some shitbag kid, 19, 20 years old, that snuck through a perimeter, got past all the cops, got past a whole ton of people, and up onto a building before he was seen by civilians that were there to enjoy the rally. They claim that they went to alert police. The sheriff of the county said that he had 2 officers, one hoisted up to see this guy on the roof, and the dude pointed a gun at him and he fell down so he didn't get shot in the face. Okay. But let's rewind, right? Let's rewind that. Now, I have taken part in a personal security detail school. I wouldn't even call it a school. It was a accelerated course, maybe. Leading up to the deployment to Iraq that we were going on, the team I was on, we were assigned to go to PSD school and learn some of these skills. Your advance party, the time of the event, and then the trail party. What do all these things do? And the idea that Donald Trump is standing on a stage and there is any position that is elevated with a line of sight to that stage and it wasn't secure is absolutely preposterous to me. 450 yards is, I think, what they said. Maybe it's less. It's not very far when you're talking about how far somebody can shoot a rifle. If you're trained, it's difficult, but I don't know that it's all that difficult for somebody. I mean, here in Minnesota, any deer hunter who is an avid hunter, any gun lover, just about anybody who has an interest in guns and shooting or hunting or whatever, military personnel, with the proper equipment, can shoot a target at that distance. Not everybody, but it is possible. And there's still so much that we don't know about this kid. But the idea that the Secret Service didn't have somebody there, local law enforcement didn't have somebody up on that roof. And mind you, this is a building that was housing police. Police were in this building. They were using it as a staging area or something. They were saying, they being the World Wide Web, news outlets, internet sleuths on YouTube and Rumble and all these other places. A lot of people have a lot of opinions. But what do we do next? Many people say that was the moment right there where Donald Trump won the election. And the way that this man stood up, pumped his fist in defiance, showing that he's not scared. Maybe he was terrified, and he had every right to be. But the way that he reacted, I believe, sent a charge through this country unlike any presidential candidate ever has. Whether you love him or you hate him, the fact that he was able to go through that experience, stand up, pump his fist in a show of you can't get me, and screaming the words fight. It was motivating. It was motivating to a lot of people. Everyone watched the video. The crowd went crazy. People all over the internet went crazy. I found this picture, and I want to share it with you guys. This is a picture that whoever took this picture, it wasn't me. I found it on the internet. But whoever took this picture should probably be recognized. Because more than the picture of Donald Trump with blood on his face and blood on the side of his head, pumping his fist in defiance, and then getting escorted to this SUV, and before getting in, making himself a target once again by standing on what I assume was the running board and pumping a fist again before. And I'm sure that the Secret Service agents are going, "Sir, get the hell in this vehicle," and trying to push him and talk him in and maybe calm him down. Maybe it was just a pure adrenaline, which is entirely possible. But he wasn't going to leave that venue, that area, as a victim. And so maybe those are things as Americans that we need to look at closer. Maybe those are things, whether you love or hate the guy, these are things that we need to identify as what strong leadership looks like. And so let me share this picture with you. This was after the shot, before the man stands up. Whoever took this picture deserves to be recognized. And sir or ma'am, whoever it was, if you ever see this video, great work, amazing work. This is Donald Trump on the ground, on the floor of the stage. Secret Service agents around him. Blood's dripping from his ear, running down his face. And when I look at this, I imagine what the hell he must be thinking. And if any of you have never been in a situation, whether you're the target or not, of bullets flying and people screaming and complete chaos, I don't know that you'll understand how it affects you just like that. And it's people who have been trained to shed some of that surprise and some of that just the shocked feeling of not expecting gunshots, and here they are. You have to train that. You have to be able to train yourself to not worry about that right now. I have a job to do. Much like the Secret Service should be doing. Because you never know. And then when you're dealing with a guy who's as outspoken as Donald Trump, there's going to be a lot of people with heightened emotions, both positive and negative, around him and wherever it is that he's at and whatever it is he's doing. But this here, I imagine he's collecting himself. All these Secret Service agents are screaming in his ear about, "Sir, we got to go. We got to leave. We need you to get up." And all the guy wanted was his damn shoes. And he wanted to show the crowd that he was not going to go down without a fight. And I think that that's what he did. But also imagine the thoughts running through somebody's mind similar to what he might be thinking. He's got a family. He's got grandchildren. He's got a mission that he has put himself on to save this country, whatever that means. He's got a lot of things to do, a lot of work to be done, as he would tell you. And so here now he's probably, what I assume, thinking, all right, let's get up. Let's get the hell out of here. I want my shoes. And when he did that and seen the looks of the people in the immediate area, because I'm sure people were just flabbergasted, right? Nobody saw this coming. It enraged him because what he probably saw was a whole lot of fear and a whole lot of shock and a whole lot of anger. and to simply raise one fist and pump it a couple times and scream the word fight completely changed the narrative for Donald Trump. Again, whether you love him or you hate him, in my opinion, it's a pretty badass response to getting shot at. Now, we also have to think about the lives that are forever changed by this event. And I think people mention it, and they are mentioning it. And hopefully there is more to be done in the very near future to recognize these people that were killed and injured, and what that might do to them and or their families. You see, people don't think much beyond what in this situation, what their rage or their anger lets them think. And also being a 19 or 20-year-old kid with access to firearms, I'm sure that he wasn't thinking about what if I miss. I'm going to go up on this rooftop and I'm going to shoot this man down. But what if I miss? Maybe he did think of that and didn't care. Maybe he was hoping to hit more than just Donald Trump. But we as a country, we as a society need to always remember this day. And not just that our presidential candidate got shot, but also that good people died. I believe the gentleman that died was a firefighter for quite some time, if I read it correctly. A man who, as we've talked about many times, was able to answer the call, make a sacrifice as a career choice. And being at a Donald Trump rally, clearly that's the candidate he supported. According to the information, was there with his family. When the first shot rang out, he jumped up and put his body on top of his family. I don't know if that's true, but that was the reports that were put out thus far. And maybe it's changed since I read it last. But my question is, what the hell are we doing? What are we doing in this country that this type of thing is happening, that we can't even go to an event that's supposed to be a good time, supposed to be happy, and support the person that we want to put in the office of the presidency because we think that he will be the best person to be in that chair to lead us to the promised land, maybe. In big quotes, promised land. We can't even do that anymore. We've gotten to the point where we can't put signs in our yards to show who we support without dealing with some kind of bullshit, some kind of backlash, some kind of vandalism to our homes and our property. What are we doing? And so these types of things, they really get under my skin, because what's really important is never really identified. It's never really talked about. In this situation, we're talking about the fact that Trump got shot. People died. People were injured. But all we hear and see in front of us is information about this kid. There's a whole lot of news about this kid everywhere. Who was he? What did he do? What did his classmates think of him? Who gives a shit right now? He's dead. He's dead, never to do a dumbass thing ever again. Why are we giving him attention? The world wants to know. Okay, I get it. The world wants to know who this kid was and why he was doing what he was doing. And so maybe the strategic, the strategy of whoever is controlling this information is that, well, we'll put a little bit out just to make people happy. Well, when are we going to put a little bit out about the man that was killed? When are we going to put a little bit out about the people at this event whose lives are forever changed? Why do we always focus on the most negative thing in any story? And even we know, okay? We already know. Teflon Don is okay. He's at the RNC. He's going to be giving his remarks. We know he's all right. So we can shift our focus, maybe for just a little bit, about the heroic man that was killed. And maybe not just this event, but all kinds of, everybody has their traumatic event, right? Whatever that is. But in this country, when it's a big one, when it's a whopper, we always talk about the most negative part of the story first, and maybe we'll get to the other stuff. And I just think that's not cool. So again, I ask, what do we do now? Well, my opinion is that right now we sit back and wait. We wait for the information to come out. We wait to hear what's going to happen. We have yet to hear a whole lot of information. I think that the Secret Service has a whole lot to answer for. One report said that they didn't have any law enforcement officers up on that building that the would-be assassin was on because it was sloped and it might pose a safety risk to our people. But yet the man that shot the would-be assassin was posted up on a roof that had an even steeper pitch than the building that we're talking about. But I think that there's going to be a lot of passing the blame and not a lot of people just taking accountability. The woman that is the Secret Service director said, well, the buck stops with me. It is what it, but I'm not leaving, not stepping down. Well, it's a pretty big whoops, ma'am. You're charged with heading up the organization or the agency that's responsibility is to keep our president alive should somebody make an attempt on his life. Not only did you fail at that, but you failed big. Now, some would argue that any attempt on somebody's life is a failure. Just even having the opportunity to get close enough to make an attempt is a failure by the Secret Service. And maybe that's right. Maybe that's true. But there's just too much here. There's too many mistakes. There's too many things that now looking back, people are pointing out, people that were there are mentioning, and as time goes by, there's just more and more information. So she says that she's not gonna leave. She's not gonna step down. Okay, well, what are you gonna do to be better? I guess I don't know how that works. Can she be who fires the director of the Secret Service? The president, I would imagine. Well, clearly he ain't gonna do it. He's not gonna fire her. He doesn't know what day it is. And the answer is not to just let it go. Let's let it drift off into the sunset. I don't think Americans will let that happen. I think people will be calling for answers and calling for her head until something happens. I think that we're in a really sad place in this country. We're in a really sad place when we have events like this happening. And one of the key points of conversation amongst Americans is that the liberals did it. Joe Biden and his cronies, or Obama and his cronies, or whoever are responsible for organizing this. Some people have mentioned that the Clintons are responsible. Who knows? But the fact that this type of thing is happening at all is extremely disappointing. And I think that men and women who have sacrificed a lot to serve this country, to make it what it is, are, I don't know that they're outraged, but I think they're disappointed. A lot of work has been done to preserve this democracy that we have, this lifestyle, this proverbial blanket of freedom that I mention often enough. But I think it makes veterans and even maybe currently serving members of the military just wonder why are we doing what we're, if we can't as a country at least have civil disagreements about our candidates and what we think is important, where we want to see this country led. That's a huge problem. And I think that military folks, both serving and veterans, might have this idea that they're ashamed or they're disappointed. I wouldn't use ashamed. I would use disappointed. Disappointed in their country. What's wrong? What's wrong with the guy standing on the stage and talking to people that support him? I would say the same thing about Joe Biden if he got shot at. That's completely uncalled for. But all this is assuming that there's no other treachery going on behind closed doors of our government. Meaning that if it did come out that somebody in the government was responsible for organizing this, or somebody close to the government was responsible in organizing this, man, I think that it's going to spark something huge. a civil altercation, I'll call it. I think that if this shooter, I know, if this shooter would have missed an inch to the right and not the left, I think that this civil altercation is right where we'd be. I think we came extremely close to having a situation on our hand that we have no desire to have. I would hope that nobody has a desire to have it, because that gets really messy. So let's just recap for a second. This guy was less than 500 meters from the president, allegedly. Was identified by civilians, apparently was seen by law enforcement officers, was on top of a building that was housing law enforcement officers as a rally point for this event, was able to get off a number of shots, was able to hit the would-be, not would-be, but able to hit Donald Trump, killed a man, and wounded or injured I don't know how many others. The gentleman that was working for the Secret Service or whatever agency was charged with being on that roof, the man that shot the assassin, who was on a roof with a steeper pitch than where the assassin was, allegedly has fallen under some punishment, some administrative action for taking a shot when he was not cleared to do so. Let me add this. When you become a law enforcement officer of any kind, your responsibility is to protect the life, limb, or eyesight of the people around you, the people in the area you're assigned to secure or work. This man should be commended for having the balls to take the shot that he did to kill this kid. But instead, he's getting flack for it because he wasn't cleared to take a shot. Well, I say, sir, good work. If only you would have ignored the order earlier, a whole lot of bullshit could have been avoided. But you were doing your job until it was time to make a decision with your moral compass. So, good work. So now let's see what Donald Trump has to say at the RNC. Let's see what all these other people who have some type of responsibility for this thing, let's see what they have to say. I think it's okay to pass judgment because we're angry. I think it's okay to pass judgment because we're confused. But let me say this. Think about letting your opinions on this be changed as new information comes. Because I think there's a lot of the story that we as the public don't know yet, and rightfully so. And I think that opinions about this whole thing are going to change a lot depending on who you are and where you're at and what's going on. But until the facts come out, have a fluid opinion or make up your mind and have the opinion you have. But one thing I will say this should not sway us away from doing is going to the ballot box and voting. And maybe it's silly of me to even mention it because we shouldn't have to mention it. But don't let that sway you away from doing that. It is our civic duty as Americans to go there and be counted no matter who you vote for, even if you vote for your mom, your dad, Mickey Mouse, whoever it is. But go and be counted. We owe it to each other as Americans to go and vote. You owe it to yourself to go and vote. In my opinion, especially if you're a woman, if you're a person of color, if you're a legal immigrant, you owe it to yourself to take advantage of the rights that have been given to you through a lot of work. Because we didn't know way back in 1776 what we knew in the 50s, 60s, 70s up till today. We didn't know, or they didn't know, but we know now. And so now you have these rights. You have this ability. Go and take advantage of it. And furthermore, if you don't, I find it hard to pay attention to any bitching that anyone has to do when and if they don't have the thought process that they need to go vote. We can't bitch about the things that are being done or not being done with our tax dollars if we don't vote, if we don't render our opinion and give our voice. And for many people, that's their only voice. Does your vote count? At this point, I don't know. Maybe not. But you still can be counted. Shit, last time, people who have been dead for ages got counted. Why should you not be counted? So anyway, I don't want to beat it to death. I feel like I already have, kind of, because everyone's heard about it. But I thought that I would render an opinion of some sort. And the short, watered down version, since you got the big, long, drawn out version, is we need to do better. Our agencies need to do better. The Secret Service, the FBI, whoever is responsible, maybe the county sheriff's office in Pennsylvania where this event took place, maybe they need to do better too. But there's a lot of explaining to do. And I think that heads will probably roll for this, hopefully, so that it doesn't happen again. Anyway, have a great evening. We will be back with you again, as always, next Thursday. So take care of yourselves, and we will see you right on down the road. Good night.